So let's talk about browser automation. It's this incredibly powerful tool that's out there, right? It can do everything from running a whole business to testing out new software. But that exact same power can be used for some pretty nasty stuff, like spam, fraud, even manipulation. So where exactly do we draw the line? Let's get into it. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. Picture this. Technically speaking, both of these people are doing the exact same thing. They're managing a bunch of browser sessions at the same time. But one is a totally legitimate, even essential business practice. And the other, well, it's undermining the trust of the entire platform it's on. So that's the big question, isn't it? If the technology, the code, the action is identical, what actually separates the good use from the bad one? Because the difference isn't in the what, it's in the why. All comes down to these three little words. First, intent. What are you actually trying to do? Second, impact. Who is this going to affect, and how is it going to affect them? And finally, context. What are the rules of the road where you're doing this? These three ideas are the pillars for everything we're about to cover. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, let's stop thinking in black and white, good or bad. It's way more helpful to think about it as a spectrum. So let's map out where different kinds of automation actually fall on this line. All right, let's start with the easy stuff. On one end of the spectrum, you've got the uses that are pretty clearly ethical, no debate. We're talking about automating things on your own stuff, like running tests on your own software, or if you're an authorized user, doing things you already have permission to do. You're not hurting anybody and you've got the green light. Simple as that. But now, let's wade into the murky middle, the gray areas. This is where things get really interesting, and frankly, pretty complicated. Think about web scraping. A lot of the time, it's perfectly legal, but it might go directly against a website's terms of service. Or what about ad verification? That's where a company kind of pretends to be in a different location to make sure its ads are showing up correctly. The intent is good, but the method, it's a little deceptive, right? This is where that context and impact stuff really starts to matter. And then all the way on the other side, you've got the stuff that's just obviously unethical. Things like spinning up thousands of fake accounts or using stolen passwords to try and break into other accounts or, using bots to snatch up every single ticket to a concert before a real person can. These things are designed to cause harm, to deceive people, and to just break the system. No two ways about it. Okay, so since those gray areas are where most of the real-world questions pop up, let's zoom in and really decode what's going on with them. This is the stuff that developers and pros have to deal with every single day. First up, web scraping. Let's just make sure we're all on the same page. At its core, web scraping is just using a bot to automatically pull information from a website. It could be for anything: academic research, comparing prices, analyzing the market. The act itself is really just about collecting data. Now you might be wondering, okay, but is this even legal? Well, there was a huge court case in the US that basically confirmed that scraping data that is publicly visible to everyone is not a crime, even if a website's own rules say, please don't do this. So while it might get your bot blocked, it's often not illegal. The key here, and it's a big one, is publicly available. Okay, what about spoofing your browser fingerprint? Making your browser look different than it actually is. This one is a real two-sided coin. On one side, it's a totally legitimate privacy tool. I mean, you have a right to not be tracked all over the internet. But that same exact technique can be used by bad actors to get around security systems that are designed to stop fraud. It's a classic case of a tool that can be used for both defense and offense. Okay, so this is all pretty complex, right? It's messy. So how do you actually make a good decision when you're in one of those gray areas? Well, let's walk through a practical framework, a toolkit you can use to think through any automation project. I want to give you a tool. Let's call it the 5-question test. Before you kick off any automation, just ask yourself these things. 1. Am I even supposed to be here? Do I have authorization? 2. Is my bot actually creating something useful, or is it just taking value away from others? 3. If everyone found out what I was doing, would I be okay with that? 4. Am I causing any harm, even by accident, like slowing down a website or tricking people? And number 5. Does the good thing my automation does outweigh any potential costs to the system or to others? The most important part of this is being brutally honest with yourself when you answer. All right, as we start to land this plane, let's bring it all back home to the one thing that really matters most, the single factor that decides where you fall on that spectrum we talked about. At the end of the day, here's the bottom line. It's like a hammer, right? You can use a hammer to build a house, or you can use it to smash a window. The hammer itself isn't good or bad. Browser automation is exactly the same. The tech itself is totally neutral. It's your intent and the actual impact of what you do that makes it ethical or not. So, I'm going to leave you with a final thought to chew on. As these tools get more and more powerful and easier for everyone to use, these ethical questions are only going to get tougher. The responsibility really falls on us, the people who build and use this stuff, to keep asking ourselves, are we building a better web here, or are we just finding clever new ways to exploit it? How will you choose to use this power?